I see it as a crime. How you can create generation after generation that they don't know what is the basis of the Western culture. And the Western culture is based on the Bible. The Bible came with the idea that there is only one God and he is transcendental. It means he created this world and he is not part of it. Newton wrote a letter. The letter is in the Israeli National Archive in Jerusalem, the original letter. He said, without the idea that there is one God who created this world, I couldn't come to the conclusion that I will throw a stone and the same rules must be on the stars and everywhere. Because there is one God and he is permanent and the rules that he established are forever.
Today we welcome the CEO and president of Compedia in Ramat Gan, Israel, Gil Ilutowich. Welcome, Gil.
Hi, Jerry. Nice to meet you.
Now, we've had great times together, and
Yes.
I've been at your headquarters there in Ramat Gan, that beautiful Tel Aviv suburb. Tell us about yourself. You're in Israeli, obviously. Your son is serving in the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, which must make you very proud.
I am, of course.
And of course, we are so pro-Israel that, but tell us about yourself. Just give us a thumbnail bio sketch.
I born in Israel in 1965. Both my parents are Holocaust survivors. My mother gave me the name Gil, which means happiness in Hebrew. And I once asked her, why you gave me this name, Gil? Happiness. She told me, you are an answer for 2,000 years of prayers. We came back to this land, and you were born in this land. And for her, that was like a miracle. It's answer for many, many prayers. Exactly what the prophets promised, that one day we will hear again the joy of children in the streets of Jerusalem. And this is Israel, and that's where I was born. So I'm looking at myself as a living miracle, in a sense.
And your mom and dad's journey?
Both my parents born in Poland. My father was taken, I think he was 11 years old, and the Russian took him to a prison in Kazakhstan, and he was part of the time in Europe, part of the time in Russia during World War II, and survived. My mother was, she was a baby when war started. She born in Warsaw in Poland, and her mother had 7 children. And my mother, the baby, she gave her to a Christian family, and they protect her and raised her as their own child during the war. And the war ended. They told her that they promised God, they promised her mother, that they will bring her back to the Jewish people. So for a while she was in a refugee camp in Germany. Then she was on that famous ship Exodus. She was 9 years old, alone, trying to come to Israel. Then back in Europe, Germany. And then when Israel was established, she came back again to Israel, 1948, immediately after the establishment of Israel. And she was for a while in an orphanage village in Israel with other children. And once I asked her, it was probably terrible for you to be in an orphanage village. She said, well, it's the amazing time of my life, the best time. I had friends, I had food, we even saw a movie once a month, and we were in Israel. So my mother was raised actually as a Christian, because she was raised as, so she always put the love both for Jewish people and for Jesus in my heart. So she didn't say, well, we are Jewish, so we don't love Jesus. She said we have to love both the Jewish people and the Christians. And without the Christians, she always tell me, you are not alive. Mm-hmm. They protect me, and saved me, and raised me. And that's who I am.
That's beautiful. Now, take us from birth to where you are now, President, CEO of Compedia, one of the world's leaders in augmented reality, virtual reality.
I established with my two partners, Shai and Ilan, Compedia 32 years ago. We started as a company which developed educational entertainment games for kids. And almost right from the beginning, we worked with MGM, with Jim Henson Company, National Geographic, and based on well-known characters like Bob the Builder, the Baby Muppets, Lassie, and others, we developed educational games and sold it to more than 50 countries around the world, millions of copies. Then the internet came and everything was changed. We didn't ship packages anymore. You don't need to work with distributors anymore. But the internet is like an ocean that you throw a rod and try to find a fish. So we shifted into a company that's doing big educational projects for different clients around the world. And from there we moved to augmented reality and virtual reality, and we have major projects in this field.
Okay, so let's drill down a little bit more. Educational projects preceded augmented reality, virtual reality, and we have people listening who maybe they've heard of augmented reality, they've heard of virtual reality, AGVR, and they don't really know exactly what that is. So take us first from the educational projects you did, when you transitioned to AR, VR, why, and what exactly the technology is.
AR, augmented reality, is a technology that enables you to put a layer over the reality. It's not changing the reality, just adding a new layer of 3D objects, movies, or whatever. We have in Compedia two different departments. One department is focusing on education. The other department is focusing on corporate training, actually, and manufacturing abilities. We have in that field few projects. One of them we are doing with the IDF,
Israeli Defense Force.
Israel Defense Forces, a project with VR. VR, virtual reality. You take this Google glasses or VR glasses, and you are in a different reality. And you can look all over and you are there. One of the problems that Israel is facing is the Hamas, that they want to invade to Israel by digging tunnels. And we developed for the Israeli Defense Forces virtual reality tunnels. This is enabled, for a soldier to go into a tunnel, which is sometimes 30 or 50 meters below ground. It's a shocking environment. It's closed, it's dark, you don't know what to expect for. And we developed this so soldiers can train in these virtual tunnels before they get into the real tunnels. And when we are talking about a tunnel, it's not a permanent to go. It's almost like an underground city with alleys, with traps, with it's dark area, and we trained hundreds of soldiers with our technology. So just now, Israel was facing the problem of the same tunnels in northern Israel with Hezbollah, and we got many.
And Hezbollah would be Syrian.
Lebanon.
Lebanon, got it.
Yes, so our soldiers were well trained when they faced the real tunnels in northern Israel. So this is one of the things that we are doing. We have projects with Intel, with Siemens. With Siemens, we have a very interesting project with augmented reality. When you assemble a line of manufacturing an airplane or whatever, there are hundreds of thousands of items that you need to put in the right place. We have a patent for very accurate augmented reality, which enable you to. It's telling you what to put and where, a button or wire or whatever, And when you put it in the right place, it gives you a V. You put the right button in the right place. But we signed now an agreement with Siemens, with the Japanese manufacturing Honda and Toyota. They don't have workers that they are working on the assembly lines of car manufacturing. Everything is robotics. Robots are working there. But what's happened when they produce a new car, they create a model from fiberglass and put it on the assembly line, and now the robots are working on it.
Right.
And they have very special engineers watching the robots and adjust the robots. It's take them about 4 weeks until they finish this adjustment. And they produce on an assembly line every day 1,000 cars. So try to imagine how much money they lose when they stop the manufacturing line for 4 weeks. So we are developing for them very accurate augmented reality that they will not need fiberglass cars anymore. There will be augmented reality 3D model of the car on the assembly line, and the robots will be adjusted automatically. We can save about 3 weeks of work, which is a breakthrough in the car industry. That's what we are doing now with Honda and Toyota in Japan.
Now, let's go deeper. And incidentally, I remember when you invited me to put those VR glasses on and act as if I was an Israeli soldier in that tunnel on the way to Gaza.
Yes.
And it literally was like another reality. And VR is coming to this culture.
In many ways, yes.
So talk to us about that. Google Glasses and all this stuff that seems so unreachable.
There are different devices in different levels. You can buy something for $1 and put your phone on it and you are there. Or you can use other much more high quality like Google VR or other devices. But the idea here that you are in another reality. The moment you put it, you can look all around yourself in 360 degree, up and down, and you are there. We created the Holy Temple in VR. So when you put it, you are there in the Holy Temple, and you can even meet avatars, or other places and walk there.
And so avatars are, for lack of a better way, people that you can create any which way.
It's a 3D model of a person.
Right.
That you can see there. And we have a technology that it looks almost like real. And it's give you the feeling that you are there. This is the amazing technology. And it's going to many fields now, the virtual reality, into education, into manufacturing, into training in different levels. We have a project for nurses to procedures in hospital. So, and mainly, the most difficult problem is to train people in disasters, for example. How you can train people that you need to send to a earthquake situation or a fire or a
shooting.
Tsunami. So here with VR, you can create a whole scenario. It's not dangerous, but give you 100% the same feeling that you are there.
In augmented reality, talk to us about what you created in that area, because you intersected at one point with a Bible curriculum that got piloted, tested in Ramadan, and took off.
We developed for Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C., a curriculum that reflected the museum perceptions of teaching the narrative, the history, archaeology, and impact of the Bible. So, for example, if we have a chapter about King David, the next chapter is about Tel Dan, where they found in northern Israel inscription actually, with the name of king of the house of David from his time, proving that he was a real king in Israel. It's not a legend. And then we have a chapter about music, how the Bible impacted music. When Leonard Cohen was singing Hallelujah, this is from Psalms where, written by King David. So everything is connected. But we put a layer of augmented reality over the book, and 3D objects are coming from the books, quizzes, games, activities, and every page became alive. The idea of Museum of the Bible was to start this curriculum here in the US in a public school. It's not much about faith, it's more about the Bible, so people will know and students will know the Bible. Unfortunately, organizations that against the Bible were fighting against it.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a say in Hebrew that man plan and God laugh. God has his own plan. We were supposed to do a pilot here in the States with 200 students. Eventually, we did a pilot in Israel with 1,400 students. And in our city in Ramat Gan. Then the next year we moved to 6,000 students, and then it jumped immediately to 80,000 students all over the country study this curriculum. And this was a Bible revival in Israel. Well, in Israel, it's not like here. There's no separation between the church and the state.
Right.
So Bible is mandatory in every school. So it's not a problem. We allow and actually must teach the Bible in public schools. It's part of the core curriculum in every school. But the problem is that the way they teach the Bible, it's a boring way. Most of the teachers are not qualified to teach the Bible in the right way that it will be engaging for the students. And with this curriculum, with augmented reality, it's changed the whole atmosphere. And we are doing Bible quizzes for the students, and it's amazing what's going on.
So a student takes what effectively looks like a little iPad, places it over the text.
Yes, and things are coming up.
And their app comes up. The gyroscope locks on the app, so they don't have to stay over the book. And it could be a diagram, it could be a musical, it could be anything.
Yes.
And that was all created by Compedia.
Yes, and
original art as well, created by Compedia?
Yes.
And was that computer originated art? Were your artists working on the computer creating it?
There are artists creating the 3D models, the backgrounds, the movies, everything is done in-house in Compedia. And we developed a special technology that it's not just augmented reality. The moment you catch the image, you can take it and walk with this. You don't need to be over the book all the time. So you can do quizzes, you can do many things. And I was teaching this curriculum for a whole year in our city in Ramat Gan. It was an amazing experience. I always had the dream to be a teacher. After this year, I don't want to be a teacher anymore. Yes, but it's a challenge, You have to be, it's very special to be a teacher. I now admire my wife that she is a teacher.
And I had the privilege to be with you and your wife where she serves. So can you tell us the location of where she serves and then how that augmented reality Bible teaching was used and how it transformed children in that environment?
There is a law in Israel that every child that is hospitalized for a long period will have a school in the hospital. It's coming from Janusz Korczak, the Jewish educator who was murdered in the Holocaust in Warsaw. He said a child should not be punished twice. Mm-hmm. Once that he is sick and suddenly that he is not learning. So there is a school in every hospital in Israel, with principal, with teachers, with curriculum, with everything. Of course, the approach is different. We are talking about sick children. My wife works in a mentally ill hospital for children, and they adapted the Museum of the Bible curriculum in all the hospitals in Israel, including the hospital where she works. And this, I think you visited the hospital and you see how children reacted to this and how children love it. And what is amazing in this curriculum that, span of attention for every child is very short nowadays. They don't have the patience to hear 45 minutes of a lecture.
We're in the YouTube generation.
Yes, so with this technology, they read a little bit from the book, then they use the augmented reality, interact with this, then they read from the Bible, then they go back for the book, then they see a short movie, then they do another activity, fill up some paper with. So every 5 minutes, the media is changing in the class. And that's how we keep their attention for more than 45 minutes, because when the bell is ringing, they don't want to go to, they don't want to leave the class, which is pretty amazing.
And Gil, we might just qualify the children that are in that hospital. I mean, some of them would be from maybe exposed to terrorist attack, or
What's happening when a child exposed to a terror attack, he becomes shocked from what he's seen. I don't want to describe now.
Right.
But we know about, and in this hospital there are children that since they saw a terror attack, they don't speak. They don't speak for years. So the hospital treat them, try to help them. Thanks God, in the last years, Israel is better. We have less terror attacks, not more than in Europe. I think in Europe there are more terror attacks. Israel, we're dealing with the terror attacks, but still we have children that suffer, and we need to help them.
And I watched how the children were just so ignited by that. I mean, it was very moving for me, because as an adolescent, I was a drugged out kid ready to kill myself. And, you know, I had no familiarity with the scriptures. And I saw how the Bible, being an inspired divine book, ignited those kids.
I can tell you that I came from, I born in a city that's called Bnei Brak. It's become the poorest city in Israel now. And when you think about poorest city in the country, what's coming up to your mind? What do you think about? You think about crime, drugs, alcohol. We are talking about a city with 200,000 citizens, no one police station. Why? Because this is the most religious city in Israel as well. So this is for me a proof that when you have the Bible, you're living according to biblical principles, although you are living in the poorest city in the country, you don't need a police station. No crime. The Bible is light. Torah is light. Torah in Hebrew, it means light. God gave us this book so we will live according to this book. We did, you know, Maimonides was one of the greatest rabbi ever lived. He said, God don't need from us anything. He even don't need that we will pray for him. He is perfect. He don't need, he don't lack food, he don't lack nothing. He gave us the Torah as a gift, so we will know him. That's the main reason. And we will know how to live between ourselves, how to treat our friends, how to treat other people. The Bible says one of the most difficult deeds that in the Bible is love your neighbor as much as you love yourself. Think about your neighbor. It's not your child, it's your neighbor. And you have to love him as you love yourself. And the question is why? Sometimes I asking people, why the Bible tell us that we should love our neighbors as much as we love ourselves? And people say, well, it's better for society, it's better for myself, I would be a better person. They don't read the rest of the passage. Because I'm your Lord. The only reason that you have to love your neighbor is because God says so. So if we are living according to what God gave us, life is different. We live in a good society. And Israel, for me, is a proof that a country that adapted the Bible. You know, for us in Israel, all the national holidays are biblical holidays. We celebrate all the biblical holidays in Israel. And our first Prime Minister, Ben-Gurion, said, in Israel, When you live in Israel and you want to be realistic, you have to believe in miracles. And we see miracles in our life in Israel every day. The existence of Israel is a miracle. So when you have the Bible, when you adapt the Bible, when you don't reject this gift from God, and I think it's terrible that people say, God gave you this gift, and you say, no, I don't want this gift. And this gift is for us, for human beings, to live according to God's principle and have better life.
So true. Gil, another strategy you used with the AR technology in Israel was you had older people, some retired, that came into the classroom with a child, a student. The student was proficient in the technology of the iPad. The elder was familiar with the Old Testament,
Yes.
probably in Hebrew, very thoroughly. Tell how you did that merge. We're going to show some pictures right now while you talk of that unique interchange between 2 or 3 different generations in the learning experience in the classroom, and what was the result?
What is interesting that we did in several of the schools in Israel, I call it a cooperation between the students and the seniors in the city. They came once a week to the class and study with the students. And as you say, they are bringing the knowledge of the Bible, and they are bringing the knowledge of technology. Most of the seniors never hold an iPad in their lives. And what is interesting, we visited one of the classes, and each senior, in Israel, one is coming from Iraq, one is coming from Poland, one is coming from Yemen, another one from Turkey. And they are all sitting together in one class, study the Bible with cutting-edge technologies. The seniors said that for them it's a new life. Suddenly they have new grandchildren, it's the students. They become like a family and study the Bible together in a modern way. This was really fascinating.
Now, in Israel public schools, they don't teach evolution.
No.
And in Israel public schools, they teach the Bible, and it begins at what grade all the way through?
By the way, I asked my son, he's now in the army, if he learned ever about Darwin and evolution. My son was study in a public school. He said I had one lesson about Darwinism, showing that it leads to Nazism. All this idea.
Showing Darwinianism leads to Nazism.
Yes, because Hitler was, talking about evolution, how you become a superman, a higher man, above the others. He took this idea from the evolution, from Darwinism, from all this. So my son said, yes, I know about Darwin related to Nazism. That's the only lesson that he ever learned in school about evolution. In no school in Israel there is teaching evolution. But this is for me, because here in America, people say, well, if you are not learn about evolution, you are stay behind. In Israel, without evolution, without study this subject, we are one of the top countries in the world in high-tech, technology, and medicine, Nobel Prizes, everything. So this is a proof that without Darwinism, you can move forward in your life with no problem and get to top in every subject.
No question. And we might add that Hitler was a big enthusiast of Friedrich Nietzsche and all of his eccentricity. Let's just paint a hypothetical here in the United States, because we know as a book of literature, there is no book that equals the Bible. And the Bible Literacy Project, which was over a decade ago, actually proved with the sign-on of professors from Harvard, Yale, every major Ivy League school on down, that a student cannot be properly educated without a basic knowledge of the Bible. You can't understand the arts. You can't understand many of the aspects within the academic panorama of topics without an essential understanding of the Bible. Because, of course, it is history, it's narrative, it's archaeology. It just so happens it mentions people groups, i.e. Israel, Israelites. You know, where are the Amorites? Where are the Jebusites? Where are the Hittites? Where are the Perizzites? Where are the Canaanites? We don't know. But we know where the Israelites are. So is it possible the United States Supreme Court has recently had a new appointee where we have a conservative majority. And we have a jurist who's 85, Ruth Ginsburg, who we don't know what her longevity will be, but it is certainly possible here in the United States that a third jurist could be appointed to the court in the next year, 2 or 3. Is it possible that that textbook that has now been created could be hypothetically piloted in a U.S. public school somewhere, hopefully in a circuit court that would be more conservative than the Ninth Circuit Court in San Francisco, and it could be litigated to the U.S. Supreme Court, and that the United States could potentially, at some day in the future, have a U.S. Supreme Court ruling reversal that the Bible could be electively, and that's the key word, electively taught in U.S. public schools, fulfilling what some of the most preeminent educators have already all confirmed, that a basic understanding of the history, narrative, archaeology of the Bible would excel a student academically. Could that happen?
I believe so, because you can't raise generations after generations of students that are ignorant about Western society. Mm-hmm. Because Western society is based on the Bible. You can't understand art, you can't understand many of the literature, you can't understand the meaning of week is coming from the Bible. All of us, no matter if we are Jewish, Christians, Muslims, atheists, all we have a week in our life. Where is coming this idea of a week? From the Bible. Only from the Bible. Try to imagine we would live in a world without a week, without weekend. I'm not talking about Shabbat or Sunday. I'm talking about weekend.
Right.
The idea of a weekend comes also from Shabbat, from the Bible. How we can live in a world that we are raising, I see it as a crime. Mm-hmm. That we are creating, I'm not talking about faith now, I'm talking about knowledge. How you can create generation after generation that they don't know what is the basis of the Western culture. Mm-hmm. And the Western culture is based on the Bible. I can tell you that without the Bible, there was no technology now. Not these cameras and not the computers and no iPads and nothing else. You might be surprised. Why? Well, in the pagan world, when they believed in many gods, one god is stronger than the other, and the other day it's all around, and one god is fighting with each other, and it's a whole turmoil. In their perceptions, in the pagans' perceptions, this table can turn into a monster while we are talking.
Right.
There is a chaos in the world. The Bible came with the idea that there is only one God, and He is transcendental. It means He created this world, and He is not part of it. So the rules that He created in this world are forever. If God was part of this world, He can change it. But no, God created this world and the rules of nature forever. Newton wrote a letter The letter is in the Israeli National Archive in Jerusalem, the original letter. He said, without the idea that there is one God who created this world, I couldn't come to the conclusion that I will throw a stone and the same rules must be on the stars and everywhere. Because there is one God and He is permanent and the rules that He established are forever. So Newton, with his ideas, and he is the breakthrough in science and nature. Without Newton, we were still riding horses and wagons till nowadays. Every scientist will tell you this. And he got these ideas from the Bible. So why we take out this amazing book from the students? Why we prevent them this knowledge, this understanding? In the Bible, there's so deep wisdom in it. And I'm not talking about faith. I'm talking about relationship between people. I'm talking about morals. I'm talking about the idea of freedom. I'm talking about even the idea, there was people who twisted the Bible, but the Bible is talking about that everybody is equal. Even when you read the Bible, you need to see what not to read, what is not written even in the Bible. There is no one description in the Bible how Adam and Eve looks like. They were black, they were white, they were Chinese people. We don't know. Why? Because it's saying this is the father of mother of everybody in this world. No matter they are from Africa, from Far East, from America, from Europe, it's the same. So now everybody that reads Genesis can say, this is my forefathers and my mother, Adam and Eve.
Sure.
And this is, for me, this is proof that this is from God.
2 or 3 real quick questions, and before we wrap. One is, here in the United States, we talk a lot about FANG, Facebook, Alpha, the parent company of Google, and some of the techno companies in the Silicon Valley. Israel is an IT capital. Are these people doing anything that Israel isn't doing? And in a sense, are you in Israel on the cutting edge of what's happening from an IT standpoint?
Of course. The inventions that are happening in Israel is remarkable, and ways and so many other inventions that are changing the world are coming from Israel.
And can't we safely say that augmented reality, virtual reality, and artificial intelligence are going to be the biggest societal changes across the board in every nation in the next 5 to 10 years?
It's going to change the world, that's for sure. It's going to change how students will consume content. It will change how people will be trained. It will change how people will consume even entertainment.
And these technological instruments can be used for good and bad too, right? VR could be used for pornography as well as for teaching a child about creation, correct?
We have a rule in Compedia. Since we established Compedia, when we were, first when the internet came in, we were first when augmented reality and virtual reality came in. And people came to Compedia and say, let's do together pornography or gambling.
Right.
People from Macau came to Compedia and said,
which is in China.
In China, where they have all the casinos.
It's Las Vegas of China.
Yes, and told us, let's do a casino, VR casino,
Right.
we'll pay you millions. And we have a rule. Something that I don't want to bring to my family, I don't want to bring to other families.
Right.
So we are focusing only on education and doing good. If we have a feeling in Compedia this might hurt other people, it's not about money. We have a say in Hebrew, when a Jewish person is dying, they cover him with a white sheet. And there is no pockets in this white sheet. So you can take the money to them.
Can we hear that in Hebrew? Can you speak that to us?
In Hebrew, the verse is saying, En kisim batacharichim. It means there is no pockets in these sheets. And nobody coming in front of the Lord with pockets full of money. You know, one of our rabbis said that when he will pass away, his name was Rabbi Zusia, the Lord will not ask him why you were not Abraham or Moses or David. He will ask him why you were not Zusia. This is a very deep meaning. God created each one of us with a purpose in our life. And nobody is living forever. And one day, all of us will stand in front of God. And he will ask Jerry, why you were not Jerry? And Gil, why you were not Gil?
Right.
So we have all the time when we are doing things, first of all, we will not come with the money to the next world, and we will come naked in front of God, and as He created us, and we will have to say to God what we did with our life. Did we fulfill our mission? Did I fulfill my mission to be Gil? Did you fulfill your mission to become Jerry? So we try to do good.
Let me also ask in closing, this technology you have, in the United States, we have a tremendous demand for content media, as you know. Disney's getting ready to launch a Netflix knockoff. We have Hulu. Netflix has 130 million subscribers worldwide. HBO realizes their model is obsolete. And there's new channels on the horizon. Is there any potential connection between this technology and licensing this technology for media distribution?
Media is changing from situation that you had to adjust your time and your interest to what the TV was supplying to you, to the whole media. It's Netflix, it's Spotify, all this. You consuming your content according to your time and what is interested for you and according to your profile. And of course, technology has a major part of it. It's not just algorithms that learn your behavior, your point of interest, what is good for you, what you like to see, and when. It's also leverage the way you will consume content with augmented reality and virtual reality and artificial intelligence.
Also, I think higher ed, universities like HBU and others, it's just a matter of time that they have to look at curriculum from a viewpoint of utilizing AR and VR. That has to be an undoubtable reality, correct?
It will go there. Usually the education market is slower than the rest, because, you know, teacher needs to adapt to the new technologies.
As illustrated in Israel, it took a while for it to catch on, eh?
Yes.
Right.
It takes time, but it will go there. No question about. Maybe it will take more longer than we expected, but for sure we'll be there.
Well, we're deeply grateful for MOTV and providing passages for the students of HBU that allowed young people from this campus to go to significant spots in Israel.
Yes, that's true.
We have a great respect for you, Gil, and for Compedia, for everything that you're doing, what you're going to be doing in the days ahead. And people to learn more about Compedia, what's the website?
www.compedia.net.
.net. Very good. And the latest and greatest from Israel, is Netanyahu going to survive the media attack that's on him right now?
I hope so. I really hope so. He's a great leader, and I hope that he will continue.
And you know, and you have in your country, just as we have in ours, you have dissident voices that if you listen to them, you'd think the sky was falling and everything was bad and people are criminals that aren't criminals, correct? I mean, there's no difference.
Fake news is everywhere, not just in the US. Also, we have it in Israel. And of course, from the left and the liberals, there is attack against Netanyahu. But thanks God, he's with us.
Thank you, Gil, for being with us.
My pleasure. Thank you.